All right, J. Cole's one-sided rivalry with Kendrick Lamar. Come across a couple video essays about J. Cole's place in hip-hop and the hierarchy and just his relationship with both Drake and Dot in the past and also since the beef. So I'm checking to see if it's going to be similar information or maybe like a different take. Let's see what Geek About It has to say. And then I'll add commentary in between. I'm Stilo, by the way. Nice to meet you.
J. Cole came into the rap game with big dreams. He wanted to make a classic debut album and envisioned winning Best New Artist at the Grammys, but things didn't go the way he had hoped. His start in the mainstream was rough. Despite being signed to Jay-Z's Roc Nation, Cole couldn't get a release date for his album without delivering a radio single.
We were just in the studio trying to make hits. No lie, I was probably the most depressed he's ever been,
Yo, J. Cole, where's the single? That's what the label's saying to me.
For 2 years, he struggled to make that one hit. During this time, Jay-Z would ask Drake to give him a hit, an embarrassing moment that showed how much Cole was struggling.
I don't have a single, and the next 6 months of my life was like literally hell. And I had been praying for this record, I promise you.
Eventually, he released Workout, a track that did gain attention, but
okay, likely the same story. I'm looking to see if his perspective, Geek About It, changes looking in 2025. That's the interesting part because the backstory is the backstory. His place as the middle child in between Dot and Drake is probably going to be a lot of just the early parts of the video for most of like these type of commentary takes to explain the backstory and the history and how we got there. Yeah, like he struggled for the single on Roc Nation, and in chasing that hit, he was starting to lose his passion and love for music. Jay-Z was putting him in a lab with producers that didn't align with his sound, didn't understand him. Jay didn't really understand him. He just thought that the traditional way how to break a rapper was that you need a radio single first. But he didn't really understand that because of the new era, the blog era wave, we loved Cole for Cole at the time. And we just wanted to hear a full body album of Cole, not knowing that he was giving us these mixtapes because it was survival mode for him. And none of those mixtapes that we got that we love were supposed to be for that first album. So yeah, it seems like it's going to be generally across the board what that's going to be leading up to it. And then Cole seeing Dot come up and seeing him getting the acclaim, and praise that he didn't really get on Sideline Story. So I imagine that's going to be the early part of the video.
Disappointed many of his core fans and people who believed in him.
So I get a release date and we dropped the single. It was the worst response on any song I've ever. You gotta understand that, like, to my fan base, it's like, yo, that's the chosen one.
The backlash made him doubt himself deeply. He never wanted to chase numbers, but instead he found himself compromising, something he'd always sworn against. Then almost out of nowhere, Kendrick Lamar arrived with his debut. He delivered exactly what Cole was trying to achieve, a debut album that balanced artistry and mainstream success. Good Kid, Mad City wasn't just a success, it was immediately hailed as a classic.
A lot of people say it's an instant classic. That's great. I love that. But I want that longevity. I don't want you to be saying it because it's, I'm hot right now. I definitely feel like it's definitely classic worthy. I always said that it just gotta have them years behind it.
Yeah.
From the outside,
enough time has passed and it's certainly a classic, for sure.
Looking in, it seemed like Kendrick did it effortlessly, but that wasn't true. Behind the scenes, Kendrick was facing similar struggles. Top Dawg wouldn't let him drop the album without hits either. Instead of compromising, he worked even harder until he found a way to hit both targets. But before he figured it out, he too had multiple failed attempts at making the club record.
What's your wacky song?
It's called Bitch, I'm in the Club.
Bitch, I'm in the club with the homies.
Just like Cole spending 2 years crafting his debut, Kendrick made multiple versions of Good Kid, Mad City before it clicked. It wasn't easy, but he figured it out. He found the balance and he nailed it to the point it seemed effortless.
He also had an opportunity to kind of figure out what would work in the market for him when he dropped Section 80, an independent release. And I think he had a formula working in terms of like, okay, this is what they like for me. Okay, I can do this, I could do that. Storytelling records, I can do this. I can let it play out like a story, like a movie, I can do that. So I just feel like Good Kid, Mad City though there were 3 or 4 different versions, the mixtape series leading up to his debut album were for him the artist development that people credit. If you know Dot, they credit that like as being an in-house production that Top Dog put around him. Like I look at Top Dog as like a Jerry West, like a Bob Myers and Golden State Warriors. If you're a basketball fan, I look at him as like Sam Presti in Oklahoma City Thunder, just putting him in the right structure. They didn't leave Kendrick to fend for himself. They were very involved in that, and they had a formula working for him, and it was a formula that essentially paved the way for Schoolboy Q to experience mainstream success. And then other artists that they signed afterwards when they started working, Isaiah Rashad, things of that nature. And then they learned so much when they brought SZA on board. Although she's R&B, there's still a formula that they learn. The first iteration of this formula, none of this is possible without the success and failures of J-Rock. Not to say that J-Rock is a failure, but you hit speed bumps, along the way. So being a street rapper and being that first flagship artist for TDE, and Kendrick being the hype man, he got to see what was working and what wasn't working, and he could adapt to that.
For J. Cole, watching Kendrick succeed where he had stumbled had to be painful. He wanted to be seen as one of the new greats, but when his debut dropped, it was met with mixed reviews. His first album wasn't the album he wanted to make.
The first album comes out, and it does tremendously well commercially. Mm-hmm. But the reception critically and on the internet is still sort of mixed.
Part of it was the fact that we knew that album wasn't exactly what we wanted.
There's some records on there that shouldn't be on there, but there's some really good records on that album.
Born Sinner was dark because of that.
You could have done without Nice Watch, but it's the Jigga feature. Like, it's the record that he wanted to be on. And I think Cole sent him another record that he didn't want to be on. I think it was Rise and Shine or God's Gift. It's either one of those records that he wanted Hove on, and then Hove just picked, like, I'm going to get on that beat.
I mean, like, he was going through a dark time where he was feeling like he still had to prove himself.
A mind state that I never had to deal with before, which is like fighting all these negative thoughts. That's the dark place I'm talking about. Like, self-confidence kind of shattered, you know what I mean? And like trying to fight against that.
He was fighting against it. Nigga Pippen. Nigga Jordan. I ain't Pippen. Yeah. Song he could sing along with. He was fighting a lot. The label shit with his stepfather. Finances, team shit. There's a lot of shit he was going, having a faithful woman and still wanting to explore, like, like the newfound attention. It was a lot. It was one of my favorite albums in his catalog, if not the favorite, but a lot of people call it Born Sinner and Snooze Fest. I don't feel that way. I don't know.
Comes Kendrick, seemingly unbothered by the system, thriving without compromise. In multiple interviews, Cole said he felt like he was the artist who took the hits so that others could avoid compromise. He believed he paved the way for people like Kendrick.
Now it's easy for niggas. As long as you come with good music, you can beat Kendrick Lamar. You don't gotta put out your song with Lady Gaga, whatever it is. A label not gonna tell you, hey, but you need a single. No, man. Just develop your fan base and put out a great album.
And then who really got it was Wale. Like, Wale was like really like for Cole got the opportunity to watch how they did Wale. And then Dot got the opportunity to watch how they did Cole. So it was just like, and then, obviously you have Drake, but Drake is just the anomaly at the time. It's just like Drake can do whatever. And then he kind of was ahead of the curve in terms of songwriting ability and just figuring out what people wanted to hear in terms of top line melodies and ear catching type of, like, you hang on the ear and it was palatable for a mainstream audience, which was essential. As the rapper, you needed that single. You just wasn't going to get put on if you didn't have that single. And oftentimes it was the pop crossover record.
I ain't had a luxury, so I could have been crushed.
The truth is, everyone faced the same obstacles. The difference was execution. It wasn't that Cole opened the door and showed Kendrick how to do it. They were in the same predicament, and Kendrick just happened to execute at a much higher level. In a 2013 interview, he admitted that his team was trying to get him to wear clothes that he hated, and he was trying to adjust to looking like a star. Then there was that funny story about his stylist putting him in a Versace jersey for...
That someone else had the same shirt. I forgot who else had the same shirt. I'm sure he's going to tell me.
red carpets, only to find other people wearing the exact.
Yeah, Brandon T. Jackson. Imagine sharing the same shirt from Tropic Thunder. That's crazy. Brandon T. Jackson got what? Nigga from Big Mama's house?
Same outfit, all the way down to the shoes. Kendrick, on the other hand, never bent. He was focused only on the music, and that authenticity paid off. Both of them were equally criticized for not looking like stars.
I mean, he did have a funny looking Dot. I mean, Dot didn't scathe through like no blemishes. Like, he had that GQ cover where he was looking crazy. Yeah, he was looking a little crazy, but you know, it was less like he was doing so many things right that I even think the things that he was doing wrong, it wasn't as magnified as, like, it was just like he's killing it, he's a messiah, this and this and that. But you know, his success rate was higher than Cole, Dot, that is.
Were incentivized to play the game. One chose to try to play the game and the other didn't.
Yeah, he said I look like a star.
I see you don't look like a star.
You had a problem because you had on corduroys.
He just didn't look like a star, but I never said he was whack. He's dumb nice.
You know, everybody got to be their own individual.
By 2013,
yeah, he was very much like, I ain't got around the run of To Pimp a Butterfly. I think he did an interview with Hot 97. He's like, I ain't got the time to look cute. I'm in the studio.
Kendrick was crowned MTV's hottest MC in the game, and while he was honored, others weren't as thrilled.
And you, Kendrick Lamar, are the hottest MC in the game, man. How you feel, man?
Feel good.
You feel good right now?
Salute.
This the list that Cole wasn't even on. That's crazy. They even put Cole on the list, and then he dropped the verse for Jodeci Freestyle. Some people actually put me on. I didn't know that Control was a response to Jodeci Freestyle. And I knew it was a response to the list and the criticism of him being the hottest on that list. So he's like, all right, I got to prove it then.
What young cat is influencing just hip-hop culture and fashion culture at the same time? Look how young I am.
They left you off the list.
This is some bullshit. I don't know, bro. I don't really give a fuck. But it's, you know, it is what it is.
The one thing that I wish that, like, Cole got an opportunity to display his personality a lot more, because he's a funny dude, for real.
You know what? It is. We shouldn't even talk about this anymore.
A$AP Rocky, Drake, and J. Cole all took issue with it. Cole initially brushed it off with "I don't really care," but his actions told a different story. Drake responded with 5 a.m. in Toronto. Then he and J. Cole dropped the Jodeci Freestyle, where both of them took subtle jabs at Kendrick. Can't help but think of how this was the original first-person shooter and the reason Kendrick made Control. Because not many of us realized Control was a response to his peers trying to shit on him for being named the hottest MC of that year. J. Cole was always incredibly competitive. He has always wanted to be the best rapper and make the best albums. This competitive spirit is what led him to dropping an album on the same day as Kanye West.
I'm a competitor, so I didn't feel good if they passed back the test and somebody got a 95 and I got a...
I want to know what Sean's initial thoughts for getting Dot on Control. Because that's Big Sean's record. We even forget Jay Electronica's even on the fucking record. That's what's crazy over time. I want to know if he was like, you know who would blaze his shit? They've been shitting on it because he's the number one on the list. I'm going to get Dot. Like, I just want to know what Sean was thinking. I'm sure there's an interview out there that maybe you'll drop in the comments down below and let me know. But yeah.
85, I'm going to feel away. It's like that with rap too. It's the same thing. I'm a natural competitor, so...
That same spirit now applied to Kendrick too, and from then on he would start taking shots to prove he was the best.
Because I think I was so competitive, I don't know how they would feel, you have to talk to them, but I know for myself, I was so competitive early on that, like, even though we were all friends, I would say we were all friends and friendly. Why would I work out with this nigga? Like, I'm trying to destroy this nigga, you know what I mean? Like, and that was kind of my mentality.
But competing with Kendrick wasn't going to be easy. Kendrick had only released one album, but it was already being treated as a classic. Like I said earlier, he had dreamed of winning Best New Artist of the Grammys, but that dream didn't come true.
Because I was telling my management and telling the label, like, yo, I have to beat the Grammy deadline. Like, I gotta do it. My album came out like 2 days before the Grammy deadline, and that's because I knew, like, yo, I got a shot.
And you're up tonight for?
Best New Artist sounds incredible, unbelievable, but Best New Artist.
That was
After this, he stopped giving a complete fuck about awards. After he didn't win this, he was like, I'm done with you niggas.
Good feeling. I ain't win though, so I need that feeling again. Then I need the victory.
His second album, Born Sinner, performed well and had bigger radio hits like Power Trip and Crooked Smile. Before he put it out, he spoke in an interview about wanting to take the award for
Power Trip. He figured it out. At Power Trip, he completely figured out how he wanted to do his singles going forward and how I could still keep his integrity and be true to him. Like, he didn't have to chase the sound. Like, at that point, he figured it out.
Album of the Year at the Grammys, not just Rap Album of the Year. I'm going for Album of the Year. I'm trying to compete with the white people. Unfortunately, he was only nominated for Best Rap Performance, and he lost. When looking back at his second album, he had to sit and be honest with himself. He had once again made compromises to keep the momentum going.
He does have a strong chance with the fall off. He has a strong chance to make a splash for Album of the Year. This is going to be the album that I believe he's going to be able to compete with other people outside the genre for the first time in his career for Album of the Year. I don't think he has a good, depending on who releases that year. Cole, you never know with Cole. Cole's really into surprise releases. I think he's coming this year. If not, definitely next year. I can't see him I can't see him dropping in 2027. I think he's going to drop in 2026. But he may drop a surprise fourth quarter. He's like a big fourth quarter guy. November, December. This type of shit he on. So we'll see.
But after seeing what Kendrick's integrity had earned him, and after the lessons learned from his past two projects, Cole finally broke the cycle. With Forest Hills Drive, he delivered an album with no features, no singles, and no compromises. He finally did it in his own way, and it worked.
I got rid of all old...
How the fuck you think to wear red sneakers with that fit? Boy, them red ass sneakers do not go with none that he got on. That's a crazy fit. I never noticed that.
Pressures that people think is the right way. What's the single? Who's on the album? That's old. I had to literally come to grips with this album might not sell. It was a scary thing for me. It didn't sell. I came to terms with that already. It sold. You serious?
And I remember because somebody at Rock Nation was like, what do y'all think, y'all Beyonce or something? Like, it ain't never gonna work, you know?
The album was celebrated by fans and critics alike.
I was actually very surprised he released with no singles on that particular album. I was like, there's just no way he's gonna roll out the album, no single, and he did, and he smashed that bit.
It felt like redemption, but just 3 months later, Kendrick returned with To Pimp a Butterfly.
Only gave my nigga 3 months to breathe. You a cold piece of work, Doc. You a cold boy. You couldn't give my boy half a year, 3 months to let it marinate. Cold work. Cold world, no blankets, son. Girls fast how Jamaicans run. Puffing on the city where the Lakers from.
J. Cole had finally delivered his magnum opus, but Kendrick delivered something even bigger. The album wasn't just great, it was considered an all-time classic from the start.
Rolling Stone magazine called our next guest the greatest rapper of his generation.
You got most Grammy nominations for a rapper in a year. You almost had the same amount of nominations as Michael Jackson for Thriller.
The legend.
With 11 Grammy nominations, Kendrick swept every rap category. J. Cole received just 2 nominations and lost both to Kendrick. It was devastating. After this, he began saying the Grammys didn't matter. He realized maybe he wasn't meant to win, but this realization doesn't come without pain. To desire something your whole life and not be able to get it really hurts.
Had I won it early on, I think it would have validated all of those feelings I had for it, of like, oh man, and maybe it would have felt like a championship at that point, I'm not sure. Yeah. The fact that it didn't happen, and then it didn't happen, and then it didn't happen. First there was the same.
I think it taught him true freedom, that he can exist and be at peace with that and still be himself, knowing that the validation may never come. I think it was the best thing that could have ever happened for him. I don't know exactly if he would have had the same career if he would have got that validation up front. Who knows? He may have lost his hunger. He may have decided that, like, I got all I needed. I'm just going to focus on my family. That's possible. So I'm kind of happy it went the way it went.
Feeling of like, wait, why they not rocking with me, boom, boom, boom. And then after time, and like, it becomes clear that it's like, oh, wait a minute, like, those things weren't for you.
From tweets and interviews, he would say he is happy he didn't win any Grammys, but his continued references to it suggest otherwise.
So Cole spoke with GQ extensively about not winning a Grammy. He said, I'm not supposed to have a Grammy, at least not right now, and maybe never. And if that happens, that's just how it was supposed to be.
By the time J. Cole truly embraced his own authenticity, Kendrick was miles ahead. When he later released For Your Eyes Only, people criticized it for taking from To Pimp a Butterfly's blueprint. Meanwhile, Kendrick elevates it again with Damn, adding another possible classic to his name, one that also became his most commercially successful. Now Kendrick both had critical acclaim and chart dominance. Cole couldn't compete on either front. While he was playing catch up to Kendrick, Kendrick was focused on beating Drake. But then Kendrick Lamar went quiet. And in 2019, J. Cole picked up his pen again. He began killing features, sharpening his skills, and reminding everyone what he could do. For years, he delivered high-quality verses. He was back, hungry as...
It's the best thing that could have ever happened for his career. Not getting that validation. The best thing. And then he was able to just focus on what he does best. I think artists just focus on what they do best, and it's hard to do that in a major label system with all this noise, where noise gets you the furthest. Noise is, I think, is prioritized over quality. If you can be noisy enough, that is your marketing strategy, because it's too many releases. It's too easy to get lost in the shuffle, even with good music. Good music isn't enough to stand out anymore. But if you just lean on what you're great at, and you just hone in on what you can do that nobody else can do, you become the king of your market. You become the king of your anthill. They come to you for that. So it's just like, it's just about rapping is a skill. It's also it's commodified in that way that we trade our skills for money, right? Just think about, even you right now, let's personalize it. You've probably made the most money in your life and had the most success servicing a gap or need in the market. And what I mean by that is you were able to be valued at something better than to justify, the pay that you were getting and the demand of that, of your labor. You were able to service and give something that could be valued in a way that made you in demand. So you traded something that someone else was like, I need that, right? Just to keep it simple. I need that. You got what I want. I need that. I don't want to go to you for a duplicate or replicating something that is already dominating the market. I can just go to that. I want to go to you for something that only you can do well, that nobody else can do better than you. And Cole really honed in on that in this time period.
Than ever. And just when it seemed like he was catching up, Kendrick teased his return, saying he was coming to smoke on everybody's top 5, which raised all our expectations. J. Cole was rapping at his best and Kendrick was coming back. But when Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers dropped, it wasn't the explosive return people anticipated. It was personal, introspective, and polarizing.
It was a quiet return, but it was a setup for what the album that I think he was working on prior to GNX. This album was a completely different album that he's working on. He's going to release soon. And after GNX sweeps the Grammys, it's going to win the Grammys. It's facts. It's going to kill. He will give us the follow-up, the proper follow-up in human development and just what he was meant to do on his timeline if none of this happened. If Drake never took the bait, this is the album that we would be getting coming soon.
For the first time, there were a lot of people that called the Kendrick album a disappointment. He looked vulnerable while J. Cole was finally hitting his stride. People began to reshuffle their big 3 rankings. I saw a lot of people putting J. Cole above Kendrick and Drake.
Kendrick talking shit to everybody in the world but a nigga named Jermaine. My rapper order it has to change.
J. Cole is number 1 in that rapper order.
It has to. It has to.
He also started throwing subliminals again, just like he did at the start of his career. His drive to be the best was fueled by feeling like he was being overlooked his whole career. Yes, he built his own path, but he still wanted the respect from the game as the best.
The thing about Cole is he's nice and respectable upon throwing subliminals. Dot is mean when it comes to throwing shots. Like, he is mean. Like, he's not really interested in being nice at all. At all. If Cole was putting names on that shit, we probably would have had a different outcome. Like, if he wanted to prioritize his ranking above his relationship with Dot, we would have really had a serious civil war in terms of rap goes. It was already played out in a way that it did irreparable damage to the landscape of hip hop, and maybe for the better of it, but it's in a shaky place right now, to be honest. There's a lot of good hip hop coming out. Not to say there's not a lot of quality. JID just dropped an album that I do want to check out. But just in terms of that type of big 3 conversation and those that are going to hopefully, I don't know if there's going to be anybody that's going to come behind it. We've been talking about the same 3 artists for the last 15 years. So hopefully somebody comes behind them and is able to take that. And JID has been kind of one of the ones that's been talked about as possibly taking that. I just don't know. He has some things to get in order label wise and figuring out how to take that leap, another leap. But it's been a changing of the guard. What was changing in Cole's side ended up changing in Dot's favor. But the pendulum always swings. Who's to say that it won't swing again in Cole's favor when he drops the fall off?
He kept mentioning people putting him number 3 behind Drake and Kendrick because it really bothered him. The 2 Grammys he's won were features for other people's songs.
Fall off is important for Cole just as much as Iceman is important for Drake, in my opinion.
His only number 1 on Billboard was a feature with Drake. He wants to achieve those things himself with his own singles and his own albums.
I'm cool. I almost feel better not having my first number 1 be off of Drake alley-oop. You know what I mean? Like, I love Drake, and I love that I'm a part of that moment with him with Michael Jackson, but it's like, bro, it's like getting a Grammy with 21. It's like, bro, I love that for you. Shit, I almost don't, I want y'all to keep me right where y'all have me. You know what I mean? Grammy-less, nigga. Don't throw me no sympathy Grammys, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want none of that.
For a while, it looked like he was taking the spot from Kendrick, until he hopped on First Person Shooter with Drake.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna just end it here. I don't know if there's anything left in the video, but I'm just end it here. All right, if there's anything left, check it out in the comment section down below. For the whole story, but I get the gist of it. Okay. Hope you're doing wonderful. Steve Levino, as always, I'll be safe. Shwee.